So the main theme of this week's episode is a debate of logic versus emotions. So some people say they're logical. Some people say they are guided by emotions. So we're just gonna have a nice friendly debate on it. And before we start things off, did you guys do the quiz?
After these messages, we'll be right back.
I asked our guest this evening to do a BuzzFeed quiz, which tells you how logical and how emotional or emotive you are. So, Shan, I'll start with you and ask for your results. What was your results to the quiz?
I am 53% emotional and 47% logical.
So you had a nice even, well, pretty much nice even 50-50 split.
Mm-hmm. I'm quite happy with that.
Did you expect that result, or were you expecting it more one way than the other?
No, I expected 50-50.
Expected 50-50. Okay, fair enough. And Nolan, what about you? What results did you get for the quiz?
I got almost exactly the same. I got 54% logical, 46% emotional.
And did you expect that?
Yeah.
And Jasmine?
I got 29% emotional and 71% logical.
That's
and
weird.
I fully accepted that.
That's weird because I got exactly that as well. I got 71% logical, 29% emotional.
I fully expected it.
Same here. I fully expected it. Fully expected it. So why would you say you're more logical than you are emotional then, Jasmine?
Because I think emotions impair people's judgment. And point blank period. I wouldn't consider myself a very emotional person over the smallest things. Like, yeah, I only show emotion when it's appropriate, if that makes sense. I'm not.
Not really emotional like that.
No.
You're more stoic. You're more neutron. Yeah, I think I'm from that. Yeah. I'm similar to that. I very, very rarely show emotion unless it's something major or big has happened. Like the small things, like it is what it is. When something bad happens to you, sometimes you just got accept the hand you're dealt and keep it moving. Well, that's my school of thought anyway. So yeah, I didn't really expect emotional to be very high. I like to say I'm a logical person and I think things in a logical and sense thinking matter instead of being emotional and just emotive and thinking on like gut reactions. Gut reactions not really my type of thing. So yeah, thinking of things in a logical process is definitely me. So my first question to you guys is, as humans, would you say we're more logical or more emotive as species?
I think we're more emotional. I think especially in politics recently, a lot of things have been geared by emotion rather than logic. And I think it's, to be honest, I think it's natural for humans to show emotions on things that they are passionate about. Do I think it's the right call every time? No. I think that's the difference. But that's kind of like my opinion on it.
Fair enough. Nolan, Shan, anything to add?
No, I agree with what she's saying. It's just in our nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Humans, we're naturally gear more to emotions than we are to logic. And why do you think that is, personally? Why do you think that is? We're more emotionally driven than logically driven?
Because I think a lot of times we're influenced by outside sources, and movies and things like that, and TV shows, right? Your lovely little modern family, right? They will tell you to follow your dreams and follow your heart, and you will be successful. That is not true, right? That is not life. That is not how things work. And like, I think one of the questions on the quiz was, do you care about doing your dream job even if it means you'll be paid less than what you could potentially be paid for another job? And a lot of people be like, yes, as long as I'm happy. But happiness doesn't pay the bills. Happiness, won't feed you. It's, I think outside influences and the way that Hollywood and the media portrays life is that if you do what you like, you'll be successful. And that's not necessarily true. That's just kind of how I feel like we've got to this stage in life where we value what our heart tells us over what our brain is actually telling us that we should do.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I also put it down that because we're probably imperfect, that we lean more to emotional than logic. Because in theory, if we're perfect beings and perfect people, it should be a 50-50 split. Like, you should be influenced both by your emotions and logic. Because in theory, they're two sides to the same coin. But because of imperfection, shout out Adam, we veer more to emotion than we do to logic.
Nolan, go first.
So for Jasmine's point about the question, I think the question said something like, if you got paid like what you need or something like that, and then it's a job you enjoy. Personally, or just I feel like generally it doesn't make sense for you to have a job that you don't enjoy because you get paid more than have a job you enjoy where you're getting paid what you need. It's not like the job I enjoy is like making me struggle. You know what I mean? If the job I enjoy is letting me live how I plan on living, then what's the problem? I don't need a job paying me more just because I need more. I just need what I need.
Wait, did the question actually say that? I'm pretty sure the question said what Jasmine said.
It was like a job you enjoy and then you get paid less than a different job or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will pay you less than what you could potentially earn, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a job you enjoy that pays you less, or a job that you don't necessarily enjoy that pays you more. Wasn't it?
But what's more?
What's more? A lot more is more, ain't it? More is more.
Yeah. So if I'm that's what I'm saying. It doesn't specifically say, it just said less and more. So I'm saying if I had a job I enjoy and it's paying me what I need.
This is where I put it down to, right? You can have a job that you like, but you're still living with your family in your 30s, right? Or you can have a job that pays you well, that you don't necessarily like, but you're independent, you live by yourself, you can sustain your family. That's how I see it. But I think a lot of people our age don't think like that. They think, what will I enjoy? And rather than what will help me gain an independent life. That's the difference. That's how I view it, if that makes sense.
I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is, it's not like the job. It's not like I'm enjoying a job that's not allowing me to provide for myself and be independent. Yeah, that's how I interpreted the question, at least. I understand you interpreted it differently, but how I understood the question was like, there's a job I enjoy and I'm earning what I need to earn to be able to live and be independent, like you said. But then if there's a job that gives me more than that, just so I can have more money, just because, then yeah, don't consider it.
What was I going to say? So Nolan, currently, do you do the job that you enjoy or your dream job?
I don't have a job right now. I'm a student. So there's no jobs anyway. if I could have a job, I'd be working.
That is true. That is true. There is no jobs.
There's no jobs anyway. I wanted to work, but there's nothing.
Nothing in Northwest London, at least.
Yeah.
Dan, what did you want to say earlier?
What you said, Tommy, about us being us being imperfect makes us more emotional.
Let me rephrase that. Has tilted us as humans to be more emotional than we should be, when it should be more of a 50-50 split, than we should be more biased to emotion.
Okay. I think that, yeah, maybe it should be like a even 50-50 split. I mean, we don't really know how perfection works anyway. We've
That's true.
never been there. So who actually does know? But yeah, I think, like, say for example, our generations and younger generations, we're all taught to like express ourselves and speak up and be woke and all this stuff. So therefore, people are going to be more expressive in their emotions. Whereas older generations, say like our parents, they weren't taught to speak up for themselves. They weren't taught to be woke.
I mean,
so I definitely think that society has kind of, I don't know, influenced generations and how they should be, even with the younger generations. Because like, I think about my mum. Like, my mum doesn't really express her emotions to just anybody. Whereas, say, I think about like my niece, she expresses it to everybody. It's a generational thing. And I think that in this system, it's always going to be manipulated to, Satan's way of doing things, if that makes sense. Never going to be perfect. We're never going to know how it was really meant to be in the first place.
I think there's two things to that. I think our parents' generation, there are people that are expressive. It's just that there wasn't social media, so you didn't see about it and you didn't hear about it.
Yeah, it wasn't hyper visible.
We live in a country, we live in a westernized society where it's a very whitewashed media, so they're not going to portray how ethnic people will feel or how minority groups feel anyway. But because we have social media, because we are obviously the next generation, it's easier for people to express how they feel via a quick tweet. Like, I think that also influences why we're seen as more emotional. And I think a second
I agree,
to our parents, I think it's a cultural difference. Because we've grown up in a Western country, our viewpoints on whether we should express ourselves are going to be different to them because they're from a different country. Like, my mom wouldn't express the way she feels because she's Asian, and you don't do that in Bangladesh. Women don't have that same right as women in England do, if that makes sense. Like, I think there's so many like avenues to why our parents probably don't, because it's influenced by culture and lack of social media, or just because they weren't taught to do that. Like you said, like, we're taught different things. But like, in terms of like, for my parents, it's more of a cultural thing because I'm a second generation immigrant rather than a first. So it's kind of because they grew up in a different country, in a different society where it's not advised to do that, they won't do it. Whereas we're taught that you should, because we're in a Western country where freedom of speech is important, if that makes
so societal norms and societal values of where you've grown up does play an impact on how you think and how you reason, and whether you are an emotional and express your emotions, or if you're more of a logical based person and try to think things out and think things through, like Jasmine has said. So moving off that. So before I move off, before I segue,
One last one. So she was talking about society, cultural differences, social media, etc. I do agree with what you said. 100%. I agree with what you said. But social media is everywhere. I understand in the Western world it's obviously a bigger thing than it is, in Asia or in Africa or something. You know what I mean? I understand it is a bigger thing in the Western world, but at the same time, the newer generations in those places more of them will be able to have access to social media and will be seeing the same things that everyone else is seeing. So I do feel like even though in the Western world the generations now are already like at that stage, you know what I mean? I feel like it will eventually just be just a general thing almost everywhere, So I feel like there are still cultural differences, you know what I mean? But the younger generations in those places are still gonna more not have the same like, how do I put it? Not have the same like thinking because of what they see on social media, but the thinking is gonna be influenced because of what they see, since they're gonna be seeing the same thing as everyone else.
It depends on whether or not they can afford it.
Yeah, that's what
I think if
understand.
you have access to that technology, great. Which a lot of, I don't know what Asian it is, East Asian countries do. But again, those countries also, their government limits their access to social media. If your government doesn't limit it, great, then you're going to have that influence. If it does, then you're not. So it's just there's so many things to like kind of, when you kind of like have that type of like stance or that type of argument, there are a lot of things to like consider with that, which is majority of the third world countries are poor and not everyone has a smartphone and not everyone has social media.
Yeah, that's why I said like it's not going to grow as big as Western countries, but I'm saying that more and more people will have access to it just as the years go on.
Okay, fair enough, Nolan. So we'll move off that question and we'll move on to our next question.